There's still a long off season, but now that the NFL schedule has been released, what are the chances that the Jets could make the playoffs?
Jets, 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 Jets!
If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. If you tuned into the live stream on Monday night, you'll know that I'm going to the draft party at MetLife Stadium on April 25th. So if you are looking to go to that and want to, possibly run into me, tickets will be down in the description. They're totally free. I'm going to be meeting up with Gangrene David as well, so stop in and say hi to us. Well, I have no idea what Jamal and Odell were talking about on their Instagram feed because they were talking about seeing each other week 1, but it turns out the Jets and Browns are facing each other Monday night in week 2. So now that we know the schedule, what do I think our record is going to look like? DraftKings has us winning about 7.5 games, while FanDuel has us pegged for about 7. Now, as a fan, that feels kind of low, but I'm biased, so I guess there's that. But there's also a few more things to look at. Most people would consider us not to be favored against the Browns on Monday night. So if we kind of think of that as a potential loss, that makes our game against Buffalo week 1 that much more important. When you look at the teams since 2002, teams that start 0-2 have a 61% chance of not getting more than 6 wins. So if we do lose those first 2 games, that could be a really critical swing point so early in the season. And to raise the stakes even higher, there's only an 11% chance of making the playoffs if you start 0-2. A few other things to note in our schedule. We do get kind of lucky with our travel this season. The furthest game we have away from the Jets as far as East Coast, West Coast goes is in Ohio when we verse Cincinnati in December. And we only have 2 back-to-back road games this season. The first one comes with New England and Philadelphia, but we have our bye week sandwiched in between it, so it's not too critical. We'll have plenty of time to practice. And then the other one is later in the season, weeks 8 and week 9 against Jacksonville and Miami, where it's both in Florida, so at least we're not traveling far between those 2 games. So that's kind of something nice to take into account as far as our schedule was built. But our bye week is also coming in week 4, which I really don't appreciate. I don't understand why the NFL, who preaches safety, wants to have week 4 for bye weeks when there's guys that are going to be getting injured in weeks 6, 7, 8. That's probably more of a time when you'd like to see a bye week. So let's go into the schedule and just start to pick apart a little bit of where I think the Jets could pick up some wins and where I think there's going to be some losses. If we look at our division first, I do think Adam Gase is going to have vengeance on his mind. I don't think Miami's a great team. I think the Fitzmagic has run out. And I think the Jets are going to sweep the Dolphins for the first time since 2015. When we start talking about the Patriots, it is nice that we face them so early in the season, so we're actually versing them in warm weather versus cold weather, which, is always kind of a problem in Foxborough. The Jets are still going to be at a disadvantage when they face the Patriots because the first time we faced them in week 3, we're coming off a Monday night game against the Browns, so we're going to be on short rest there. And then when we face them in week 7, the Patriots are actually playing on Thursday night the week before, so they're going to have more rest going into that Monday night game than the Jets actually do, even though the Jets are going to have that extra day going from Sunday to a Monday night game. So something to keep an eye on. I feel like every year there's some kind of benefit for the Patriots, and it just, as a Jet fan, I'm sort of used to it at this point. The other thing that's nice about facing them so early in the season is that there's rumors that Gronkowski may come back towards the end of the season for a playoff push. So if we face them early in the season, the chances of him being back for week 7 is relatively low, I guess, unless he wants to come back after training camp and then, decides to play. But I think more than likely, if he were to come back, it would be closer to the playoffs. I think if we can split this series, that would be, awesome. I think the Patriots are still the cream of the crop in the division, and we'd have to kind of steal away one of these games. As far as Buffalo goes, we're going to start our season and end our season with them. We're going to get to see that matchup of 2 of the top 2018 quarterbacks. Again, obviously we're going to see that every year that these 2 guys are in the division. But I think this is going to be really important. It's going to probably make or break our season. If we lose that first game to Buffalo, there's a good chance we lose that game to Cleveland in week 2, and that gives us only an 11% chance to make the playoffs. So since that Buffalo game at home is going to be so crucial to us, I think we're going to win that game. I do think Buffalo takes the week 17 game in Buffalo. I think weather is going to play a factor there. I think Josh Allen, that big-bodied quarterback, is going to be able to possibly hold up a little bit better than our team might in potentially snowy weather come, the end of December. So let's say we split that series. That puts us at, 4-2 in the division. So that would be pretty cool. I think that's probably a best case scenario for the Jets right now. Now that we have the division out of the way, let's look at week 2 with the Cleveland Browns. Now this is going to be a Monday night game. I think it's going to be an awesome game to possibly go to. I think Baker versus Darnold is going to be a fun matchup we're going to see a lot of over the course of the next few years, depending on where the Browns and Jets finish in their divisions respectively. But I do have concerns about this game because, you got Baker Mayfield, you got Odell Beckham, you got Landry. That team is pretty stacked. The one saving grace, I guess, is that we face them early in the season, so hopefully we catch them a little off guard before they have enough time to really gel. And then also Kareem Hunt is not going to be on the field. He's serving an 8-game suspension, so at least they have one less player in that respect. But overall, I do expect the Jets to be not to be favored in this game. I think the Browns probably win it, coming into MetLife Stadium. So the Jets are going to get a loss here. And that takes us to the bye week, as far as what I've predicted so far. Now, week 4, that's really tough. Obviously, you want to see that happen later in the season. I'll try to put a little bit of a positive spin on it. With Le'Veon Bell missing last year, there could be some aches and pains from him getting back into football shape. We saw that with Darrelle Revis when he held out at training camp. He's, pulled his hamstring. So maybe there's a situation where Bell gets a little bit healthier after a little bit of time off from shaking off the rust. I don't know if I necessarily buy it. I think I really would have preferred that, week 7, 8, 9 bye where we get to kind of reset our season. Because there's a good chance that if we lose against Buffalo and we lose against the Browns and we go into Foxborough and lose against the Patriots, our season might be over by the time we hit our bye week. Coming out of the bye, we're going to face the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I don't know how Adam Gase is going to be in bye week scenarios. Todd Bowles was not very good at this. Adam Gase has been 1-1 in terms of bye weeks over the course of his 3 seasons in Miami. The 2017 year, if you remember, that first game of the season was canceled, so they actually replaced their bye week to have that week 1. They did win, week 2, but I don't know if I necessarily consider that as much a bye week as I would otherwise. So, will Adam Gase prepare the team well enough to go into Philadelphia and beat Carson Wentz and that team? I think because of how good the Eagles are and the limited knowledge we have of our Jets roster at this particular point in time, I think I'm going to give the Jets a loss here. The Jets are going to start the season 1-3, and I think that's going to put their backs against the wall. Obviously, that takes us to the 4 o'clock game against the Cowboys in MetLife Stadium. I'm not too concerned about Zeke Elliott. I think he's one of the best running backs in the league, but I do think the Jets are well equipped with C.J. Mosley and Jamal Adams to stop the run. So I think if the Jets can bottle him up and force Dak to throw, I'm not crazy about Dak Prescott as a quarterback. So I think the Jets could sneak out a win here. I think that's going to be important. I think with the Jets kind of holding on to their season at 1-3, I think that's going to be something you're going to look for the Jets to do. Jets are going to get a W in this game. Obviously, I already said I think the Jets will split with the Patriots, so we move on from that game. The Jets go on a 2-game road stint here where we head down to Jacksonville. Now, Jacksonville is going to be a much better team with Nick Foles at the helm instead of Blake Bortles. So I think the Jets are probably going to lose this game. I think they're going to win against Miami the following week, so they split their 2 road games in a row. So I have them going 4-4 out of the first 8 games that they play. I think that's not too bad considering, where we were this past year. We only won, 4 games, so I think it's, as good as we could ask for at this particular juncture. But I do think this is where we could go on a run. We face the Giants in Week 10. It's going to be a Jet home game in MetLife Stadium. Obviously, the Giants are still, a home team, so we're going to see a lot of Giant fans at that game. The Jets are really going to need to win this game here. I don't really trust Eli anymore as a quarterback, and depending on who they draft in the draft, if they go with a quarterback, I don't know if he'll be as good season 1. Obviously, if they take Haskins or something like that, I think he could be a really good quarterback. I just think the year of, starting experience with Sam Darnold and, not having Odell for the Giants, I think that's going to play into it a little bit. I think the Jets will have a better time against the run this year, even though Saquon Barkley is incredible. I think if we force Eli to throw the ball, I think that could land the Giants in a little bit of hot water. I think the Jets can definitely win this game. As far as Washington goes, the week after when we travel to Washington, I think if Alex Smith were starting this game, I'd probably pencil this in as a loss for the Jets. I'm not crazy about Case Keenum. I think, he's had good games, he's had bad games. I think this is a game that is winnable for the Jets, and me being a Jets fan, obviously I'm going to be a little bit biased, so I think this is probably closer to a coin flip type game with us being on the road, but, I guess I trust Sam Darnold more than I trust Case Keenum. That's to be seen, really. It's, could go either way, but I'll give the Jets a win here. So that takes us against Oakland in MetLife Stadium. So we're lucky here. We don't have to travel to the West Coast for this game. I think there is a lot of potential with Oakland. Obviously, with Derek Carr, he's had a great first few seasons. A buddy of mine actually sent me Derek Carr's first 5 years versus Peyton Manning and Drew Brees' first 5 years, and it's actually eerily similar, so I didn't realize he was quite as good as that. With Antonio Brown and Tyrell Williams being there, they're going to be extremely high-powered. But traveling across the country is tough for any team to do. I think if the Jets were to travel to Oakland, I think we'd probably lose that game. But with Oakland coming across the country to the Jets, I'm going to say the Jets win this game at home. So again, probably another coin flip game. They probably have more talent than us overall. But like I said, that East Coast, West Coast kind of situation where you have to travel, I think that's going to, at least help the Jets a little bit. Entering the final week of the season, the Jets are going to Cincinnati. It's actually going to be the furthest west that we're going to travel this entire season, which is, pretty good, all things considered. And I really like Zach Taylor. I think he's going to be a really good head coach for the Bengals. This is probably going to come down to how well is Andy Dalton going to play, and is AJ Green going to be healthy. The Bengals at this point in the season are already going to have a pretty tough, schedule. They're already facing, Seattle, the 49ers. They face Pittsburgh twice. They verse the Rams, and they just come off, 2 weeks prior from traveling to Oakland. So they could be in rough shape this early in the season. So it's going to depend how they do. If for some reason they're not doing well at this point, you could see the team start to pack it in. So maybe that makes it a little bit easier for the Jets. Obviously, it could kind of go either way, and I feel like I say this about every friggin' game, but that could benefit the Jets, as far as that goes. I think having a motivated team is very important. When a team starts to lose its edge and it starts to feel like it's not going to make the playoffs, a lot of defensive players kind of dial it back a little to prevent injury. You sort of see that with, when the Jets were bottoming out, when they had Revis and everything. Guys start to, pull up from tackles. They go into self-preservation mode. And in a violent sport like the NFL, it's kind of something we have to deal with. It's tough because you don't, want to see that happen, but I think it's a real possibility that could happen come this week. So I'm going to give the Jets a win there. Obviously, I have the Jets sweeping Miami, so we're going to go into that game getting a W. Then we go into a short week in Baltimore against the Ravens. Now, I'm not crazy about Lamar Jackson. I think as a passer, he leaves a little bit, to be desired. But, the Jets are going to be on short rest. They're going to be the away team. I think they're going to have a really hard time trying to bottle up Lamar Jackson. And if he figures out the passing game, it's going to be really tough to stop this team. I think the Jets are definitely going to lose this game. I don't see this, playing out favorably for the Jets. So Jets get a loss here. Now, I already said that I believe the Bills are going to win that final game of the season. So this is going to put us, in my mind, at 9-6 heading into the Pittsburgh game. Now, the Jets are facing Pittsburgh in MetLife, which is going to be huge because we're going to need this game to possibly get into the playoffs. And Pittsburgh's going to be one of those teams that we're duking it out with for a wild card spot. I think the Browns probably win that division, but both teams are going to have a lot to fight for. With Le'Veon Bell going up against his former team, the Steelers, I think there's going to be a little extra juice added to that. Now, you could argue the same thing. You could say the Steelers are going to want to shut down Le'Veon Bell. I think that's perfectly fair to say. I really like Juju Smith-Schuster. I like James Conner. I think because of how the Jets' schedule falls and because we have them this late in the season, it's our last home game. I think Le'Veon Bell is going to try and, run all over the place. I'm going to pencil the Jets in for a win late in the season, obviously, could go either way, like any one of these games. Obviously, the NFL is so drastic, as far as trying to, pick who's going to win, who's going to lose, as far as, everyone's pretty close. There's a lot of parity. It's not like the NBA. It's not like MLB where there's series and the best team always wins. You can catch any team off guard. It depends on injuries. If Le'Veon Bell gets hurt or if Sam Darnold gets hurt, obviously that changes our season dramatically. So I have the Jets going 10-6 this season. Obviously, that's a little optimistic. I'm a Jets fan, so welcome to Jets Talk. So I'm going to be a little more optimistic here. But will 10-6 actually get us into the playoffs? That I'm not so sure of. We look at the AFC West, and you have the Chargers and you have the Chiefs. So one of those teams, they're both really good. One of them will probably make a wild card. And then you look at the Browns and the Steelers. One of those teams, along with the Ravens even, one of those teams could be fighting for a wild card spot as well. So I don't know if 10-6 is actually going to get us into the playoffs. I think we're going to see it come down to strength of schedule and, common opponents and whatever AFC. I think it's going to come down to tiebreakers. I think the Jets are going to tie for that final wild card spot. I don't know if we're going to get into it. That final game in Buffalo may be that heartbreak game, just like it was in 2015 against Rex. I really hope it's not, but I think it could come down to that. So let me know what you guys think down below. What do you think the schedule is going to turn out like? Do you think we're going to get 10 wins? What do you think our record's going to be? What is a successful season for this year's Jets? Let me know down below. As always, go Jets.
Jets! Jets!